effective advertising, when I spoke to each of you and I combined everything that you said, essentially comes down to encompassing effective planning, deployment, and measurement, right? Like that kind of encompasses everything that you guys have said thus far and what you stand for. So let's talk about some hot topics that fall under the effective advertising conversation. So Jackie, you spend a ton of time evaluating effective strategy and have spoken about data-driven strategies. Can you talk to us a little bit about why this is important and why this is a hot topic?
Yeah, of course. So I would say at a very high level, gone are the days of where you're buying a CPM and you're trying to, show an ad to everybody who is watching sports, right? Everything is now so data driven. And what that means is there's a whole lot of connectivity and technical solutions that are happening on the back end before you're paying $1. There's so much that is happening on the back end to make sure that you're truly reaching the customer that you're looking for, the shopper that you're looking for, right? And I would say that if I am looking to spend my dollar, the questions that I would be asking are, what's been put in place to make sure that I know that I'm reaching my customer? What are the data points that we've deemed as we know that these are the customers that are going to give us the best results. They're going to convert. They're, in auto, you're going to buy a car, right? How do we make sure that all of that is happening and it's connected with the right people, the right platforms, right, to get to our customers? Everybody has been hearing about cookie deprecation or cookies going away, and the fact that third-party data may not be as reliable anymore. And so I think that we all, everyone in the advertising industry is really focusing more and more on that first-party data, because that means it's data that we own, it's data that we know that we can use to target the customers that we want to reach. And so building that up and making sure that pool, that library of that first party data is big and it's strong, and it's foolproof to make sure that we can get our results. So applying that gives you some effective advertising campaigns.
No, absolutely. And data is a growing topic. And I want to go to both Tim and Sarah here. So Tim, first, we've talked in depth previously that first party data is not equal, right? Like people are hearing about data and they're hearing the terms first party data, but first party data, I don't know why I'm creating a tongue twister out of this, but can mean different things when people are being sold that data, right? So can you explain what true first party data is to our audience?
Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of terms that get thrown around when you're talking about data, and whether you own that data or it's third party data, or it's maybe a publisher's data, right? The net takeaway is first party data is data that is housed within your owned and operated business. So for example, an automotive dealership, it could be your CRM data or your DMS data or your website traffic, or in the case of Amazon, right, like audience shopping or activity that would occur on Amazon.com. And when you start to put like those two pieces together and you work with trusted partners that have really high quality data, and then you can take your owned and operated data and start to combine those, I think that's really when you start to see like economies of scale and efficiencies and effectiveness. So when you can take like your known customers and then bring them together with really strong data points, you can have a much better understanding of who my customer really is and how you can ultimately then leverage, whether that be a media opportunity or some other opportunity to make like a meaningful connection and drive impact.
Absolutely. And I feel like gone are the days of, like Lauren was mentioning sometimes, or Sarah was mentioning, sometimes paper, the newspaper or billboards or things like that can work based on the region, but gone are the days of saying, I'm going to put a billboard up, but I have no idea how to track it. Whereas we have so much more information now than we ever did, not only to track and measure, but to target people. And even the programmatic approach that we've had previously and still layer in is not as effective as activating that first party data. So thank you both for jumping in. Sticking with data a little bit, Sarah, I know that we've talked about cookie deprecation and that, cookies are going away and, we have to come up with new solutions and data. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about why household is so important as a tool to kind of overcome this cookie deprecation?
Sure. Yeah. So something that I think we're all very used to thinking is that when we look at like Google Analytics data, we see, website visits. I think we naturally convert those into that's an individual, that's one person coming to my site. When in reality, it's one person on a device. So if I come to a website on, my phone, and then I go home and visit on my computer, I now look like two people in Google Analytics coming to a website. So with this, it's not only impacting how we measure, that's the first part, of course, but in addition to, cookies going away and our capability of retargeting and that one-to-one interaction when someone visits your website is becoming more and more diluted. So it's really having that, exploring those platforms that not only help you measure at a more accurate level, have an understanding of individuals and households coming to your website, but then being able to utilize that and actually reach those households. So when we think of a hushold, it's beyond just that individual. It's literally every device within a home. So, it could be husband and wife on their phones, their child on a computer, even on their connected TV. We're able to kind of reach everybody and influence everybody within that household, which is really important when we think about these, heavier investment types of products where we really have to have a larger influence in a home, like buying a car or something like that. That's really where that differentiator is. So it's thinking about it in terms of measurement and the accuracy and kind of moving a little bit away from how we always used to think about analytics data. And then also equating that okay, how can we actually now activate that we are able to capture this household data information?
Well put. I personally feel like I can hear people taking notes. Lauren, I know we have exhausted the GA4 conversation, but I still have people reaching out that they don't fully grasp it. It's kind of a major transition from what Google Analytics has updated and revised in the past. So I know it's still a hot topic. What do we want to touch on that's timely that people need to know right now? Anything new?
Nothing new, but I would just say July 1st is going to be here before we know it. And if that date isn't resonating with you, that is the official date that the current version of Universal Analytics will stop collecting new data. So if you don't have a GA4 property set up and configured for your business, I would get on that right away, or work with your agency partner to start getting that set up so you can begin collecting data and not feel like, you're last minute scrambling to try to figure out this new platform, because it is different from the current version. It's a completely different data model, and it will take some learnings to understand, what types of variances within data that you're going to see within GA4 in comparison to, the current universal version.
And unlike the previous iterations, the universal version does not match up exactly to GA4, right? So everything that I've collected in the past stays in the past. And only when I set up everything for GA4, whatever date that is, if I started last year when you were advising me, I would have a lot more data. But if you don't have it, you gotta, whatever date you start is the date you have for your entire website, right?
That's correct. There's no way to import data from your existing Universal Analytics account into GA4. Like I mentioned before, the data models are completely different. So, your metrics, even like sessions, would not line up, and it just wouldn't be an accurate way to really view current data versus historical data.